What's up, everybody? I'm MJ, and you're watching MJ's Tech Talk, the place where I talk tech. And today I'm going to show you an easy way to balance your camera using a Ronin-S. Check it out. Ronin-S is a 3-axis gimbal, also known as the stabilizer. The Ronin-S Gimbal is capable of moving 360 degrees in each axis. Those axes include the pan axis, the tilt axis, and the roll axis. I'm going to show you guys how to balance it on each of those 3 axes. That way you get the best results when you use your gimbal. The best thing about a Ronin-S is its portability. It's small, you can take it apart, throw it in a backpack, and take off. Now, the one thing about it is when you get on set or when you get to whatever you're shooting, you have to take your time and balance it and make sure each axis is properly balanced. That way you'll get good footage. So, one thing that people struggle with is doing that quickly. I'm going to show you guys my surefire, easy way of balancing your Ronin-S. And there's also a method to where you can go onto your Ronin app and check it and make sure that it's balanced. And I'll put that at the end of the video. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it, and I'll show you guys how I balance my Ronin-S. I have all of my parts here to the Ronin. This is the tripod or extended grip, which is capable of being used like this during footage or standing alone on a tripod. Now, the initial setup includes attaching your top axis motors to the battery grip. And that's accomplished by sliding it in here and locking it into place. Now that we have everything connected and locked in, one button click on the battery grip turns it on, and a double click turns on the gimbal itself. Once you hear an audible beep, you know it's ready, and it goes there. So, in order to balance it, you must have the gimbal turned off. So 2 clicks turns it off. In order to balance your gimbal, you should have the gimbal turned off. That way each axis can move in every direction. I always start with the gimbal facing me, meaning the control portion of the gimbal is facing me. The first thing you're gonna do is attach the mounting bracket to your camera. If you have a smaller setup or you have a bigger lens on, you may want to use the extension plate. But for the purpose of my current setup, I won't need it. I like to get my gimbal right in the center. That way it's easier to balance in the first axis. I also use like a tool or a flathead screwdriver to make sure that the base or the plate is properly mounted to the base of your camera. Before you even try to stabilize the camera, make sure you have batteries, power that you want, and make sure you have your SD card already loaded. That way you don't have any changes to the weight once you've already balanced your Ronin. Because any changes that you make to your camera after balancing will require a second balance. So I have my plate mounted, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it into the slide. Make sure that you have the mounting position unlocked, and then you're gonna slide it into the track. This is the beginning of the balance. As you notice that if it's too far forward, it leans forward. If it's too far back, it leans back. You want to find a position to where it can almost stand on its own. If you want, you can hold the roll motor and the rest of the gimbal stabilized. That way you're working in one axis at a time. Lock it in and check and see if it's going too far forward or too far back. As you can see, we're not balanced, but the next step would be to tilt it back. If it falls completely backwards, it's not balancing that axis. If it falls completely forward, it's definitely not balancing the roll axis. So next, we're gonna unlock this lock and balance the roll axis. Since my setup is kind of big, dropping it down this low gives it the ability to counterbalance on its own. But once you tip it up, it won't stay, so you know that it's gonna need to go up or down. And sometimes when you balance in the roll axis, you'll notice that you may have to reset your original alignment just because now you're balancing that axis. It might be too far front or back on the plate. The key is kind of finding a tilt point. Once you find that balance, lock down on the key, and at this point you should be able to stay. Now the last axis is the pan axis. So in this axis, you can tell that it's out of balance because it's just kind kind of free floating on its own. In order to balance this axis, you want to unlock it here, and it goes too far forward, and it goes too far that way. So find a happy medium somewhere that it kind of balances straight up and down. So now that I have these two axes in balance, I kind of see that it's still tipping forward. So I'm going to go back here and balance it on my tray so that it stays. So the goal is to be able to put it anywhere and it kind of stays where you put it. So I'm going to check when you tip your roller to the side and it goes that way. That tells you that one of your axes is out of balance. It could be your pan axis or it could be your tilt axis. I'm going to readjust this axis so that it's a little more balanced. Favoring to the right side, I'm going to try to get it back over to the left. And sometimes this axis is harder to move, so you can take the weight off the axis and slide it more easily. Okay, there it is. So at this point, I'm able to leave it there, or point it down, and it's good to go. Now I'm going to show you a second check. This way you go to the Ronin app and you can determine whether or not your gimbal is properly balanced. So you're going to click it twice and hold it, and your gimbal is going to turn on. Now that we have it on, I'm going to go to the app and see if we're balanced. If you enjoyed this content, make sure you click that subscribe button and follow me on this journey. And while you're at it, make sure you click the bell. That way you'll be notified every time I post new content.